and welcome back to the Ladies of Selling LA Luxury podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Angel Collins, and we have a special guest today, Mr. Kevin Lucchini from Clear Cap Lending.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. So you're probably wondering why we brought him on, but it's a very important and imperative role to, this entire series, because I know that buying a home or even buying your first investment property is really overwhelming, and a lot of people don't know where to start. And I think the part that's the most uncomfortable is the financial aspect and the lending part, right? Picking out a pretty home or what works, or, going to check out investment properties doesn't seem to be as much of the problem. So it really starts with the most uncomfortable conversation, and they start with your mortgage broker. And so we are going to have a 3-part series to unpack the myths of lending that are still going around, share why everyone is not a traditional mortgage client and what you can do if you're not, and when to know when you're ready to buy your first real estate investment. So let's jump right into the first one. I'm super excited. I don't think that you were prepped for this, so it's going to be winging it, which is the best kind of conversations. So let's break down some of the lending myths that people, that are holding back people today from buying their first home or investment property, or anything that you see for the top 3 myths in the lending world. Can you start with the first one? Tell us what you think the top 3 are. I have my idea, so you go ahead with yours.
I'm going to try not to mimic yours. So the first one I'd probably say is that I don't declare all my income, or I didn't file my tax returns last year and I'm late, or that everyone thinks everything has to be squeaky clean and perfect. It does not. So there are loans for people that don't declare all their income, or declare it but write everything off, self-employed people. There's a program for everyone, really.
Are you going to break down those programs when we talk about traditional mortgages in the next one with Anne-Marie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Okay. I kind of think that kind of aligns with one of mine, which is I cannot qualify. So most people just think of the, traditional programs that you guys are going to kind of go over, the 30-year fixed mortgage, W-2 type, borrower. And I don't think a lot of people realize that there's like a creative loan program for almost anyone. So that was my number 3, actually.
And they can also be 30-year fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, what's your next one?
The second one is probably if they have a bankruptcy or collections or bad credit, people automatically assume that it's done. It can't be done. That is a myth as well.
What? You can buy properties with terrible credit?
I guess you can buy, there are loans for terrible credit too, but
okay.
Let's speak affordable. We don't want to veer outside of the rates too much. So at a higher interest rate than conventional, you can buy a home with a bankruptcy within the last year, a foreclosure within the last 2 years.
These are 2 things I just learned. Go ahead.
Yeah. You can have a 580 credit score.
I knew that.
Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of programs, and so you shouldn't try to make that. First of all, you don't know what's on your credit. You need to let your mortgage broker pull your credit. A mortgage FICO is different than a FICO 3, which is what you get on Credit Karma and the ones that they sell you on the internet. Our FICO is different. Someone that has a 780 may have a 710 with us. Someone that has a 710 there may have a 780 with us. So let us determine that. And we'll go through the credit. That's why you want a professional looking at it. Most people are hesitant to do it because they're embarrassed that there's a collection or whatever. So to throw that out of the window, I don't think I've seen one person without something minor on their credit, no matter how much money they make or how responsible they are. It happens.
Life happens, for sure.
Get over it. I've seen it 100 times. Nothing you show me will surprise me. So it's better to let me at least see it and give ideas on how to fix it right away, because sometimes these things take 3 months to fix. So there's also stuff on there that you may not know. So again, going back, credit is definitely another area where there's so many people have so many reservations about it. So
and then on credit too, I know you guys you had made a comment about you want to give the affordable loans. So when we say that there's a program for everyone, and he said that there's a program for everyone, that also means that the interest rate, because you're a more risky borrower, could be astronomical, and so could
Yes.
not even be worth the time to do that. So he was trying to give you the more affordable ones, so that way it's not an astronomical purchase. But yeah, credit, it's crazy because it's 580 only with, it's conventional too, right? 580, you
No, you can do. I mean,
FHA.
I have a loan program with 20% down, and you pay the first 4 years of interest up front, which is not normal, but we don't even pull a credit report on that one.
Oh, so you don't even have to have any credit.
You don't have to have a social, you don't have to have a credit history, nothing.
And is it hard money rates? So
4.75.
what?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's actually very hard to conventional right now.
wonderful. So
But that's a riskier loan. So
Right.
this is again what I would have to talk to a
Yeah.
client about. But that's a 5 year loan, meaning it matures in 5 years. So you
Got
have
it.
to have a plan in 5 years because it's gonna be an interest only payment. They're gonna send you a letter 90 days to the 5 years, and they're gonna say you got to pay everything back.
got it.
So
Okay.
we want to have a plan. That's not for everyone, but
Right.
Yeah.
But even just hearing that, like you are listening, if you don't know the basics, a hard money loan is pretty much like, I always say it's dark money. It's like literally,
sometimes
yeah, I feel like it's not like it's bad, but you're paying crazy interest usually and points up front typically just to borrow the money because you're a high risk borrower. So just to know that you even have an option, where a 5-year plan needs to be in place.
I mean, but you
That's-
don't have to be a high risk borrower either. You can be a paper borrower and just use it as a tool. You and I buy properties with
Yeah.
hard money all the time.
Yeah.
And then we just get out of it later. It's
Yeah.
Because that's that
And it's
acquisition
quick.
strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, which we're going to talk about on the third episode. I'm excited for it. Okay, so we talked about not qualifying or thinking that you need to have like all of your income to be,
Squeaky clean.
yeah, like you need to be that in the box conventional buyer. And then we talked about credit. What would you say is the third myth that you think keeps people back from starting the conversation?
More often than not, they'll go on websites and try and research things on their own, and that's what holds them back. So people will have a collection account, for instance, and they'll go, "Can I get a house with a collection account?" They go on Google, and Google gives them a website, and then they read on it, and some website obscurely says, "No, you can't." And so I'm going to say the internet is the third myth. So the internet altogether, if you're just know that when you're on the internet, all the information on there could be or could not be true. That depends on what site you're going to. But most importantly, go to the bottom of the page and look at the license number and look where it says most of the times it will say, "This website is not a mortgage origination company. We do not lend money." That means that you're gonna put your name and phone number in there, and they're gonna sell that for $100 a pop to like 6 different brokers, and they're going to start calling you, an unbelievable amount of times. So you're not on a webpage where a professional is giving you
Guiding you.
advice. So call someone. You don't have to be buying a house to call someone, and you should start with your mortgage broker years before you're buying your house. If you have a good mortgage broker, they should be totally fine with working with you for at least a year before
Agreed.
a purchase comes in.
Yeah.
And call them, find out what you need to do, because you can start looking for a house. It may take you 6 months. In that time, your mortgage broker might be able to get your credit score higher, fix problems. So stop relying on the internet. The internet altogether, I'm going to call that the problem or the myth.
I mean, I think with so many issues that we have right now in life, I think the internet could be a huge problem.
Sure.
No matter what topic you bring up. But yeah, Google is not always our friend. I always say I love that we have access of all information at our fingertips. And I also hate that we have access to all information at our fingertips because everyone listens to what seems to be a professional and it's not. It could be like my 14-year-old niece on the other side of that website,
Or just a marketer.
Yeah,
Just
or
trying
just
to get
anyone.
you to sign
Yeah.
up.
So I actually put down, that's a good one. I didn't even think of that. So I actually put down payment. I think that a lot of people believe that you have to have 20% down or you won't have favorable loan terms as my big myth. So a lot of times, especially here in LA, 20% down of a purchase price is a significant amount of money. And so I hear all the time, "I'm going to need years to save for that." And I'm like, well, maybe you don't. And maybe you don't need, maybe you only need 3%, maybe you need 3.5% or 5%. So is there anything you want to talk about on that?
Yeah, you can go down as low as 3%. There's actually 0% programs. So you can use those as well. We have them they're gimmicky, and the new ones that came out with the state grants might prove to be better. They just came out, but as far as what we have available to us right now and what we have used in the past, the ones that pay you go 3% down and then someone gives you a grant for the other 3%. We call it DPA programs, down payment assistance programs. So they take a long time. They're restrictive and they have problems to them. Is there something over here?
No,
No.
he's fixing the
Oh, okay.
camera.
All right. You hear it over here? That's crazy.
You can hear. Do you see how you can hear everything? So when we're recording here, sorry, just side note. When we're recording our podcast, Kevin is in the other office talking obnoxiously loud.
Yeah.
And now do you understand why I'm like, I don't want to be a jerk, but shut up.
It sounds like it's right
you
here.
can hear everything. I'm gonna like have these on in the office just so I can hear everyone's conversation.
Yeah, you can. So down payment assistance programs, we even have those, so you can go as little as 0% down. We don't like using them because let's just say they're complicated and not always reliable. But reliably,
And can I just touch on that too?
Mhm.
It's also the market, in some places there are homes that are sitting on the market that would take an offer with down payment assistance, but a lot of times people still want the hottest property,
yes.
and those are going to be the ones that they say, well, absolutely not. I have someone that's putting 30% down or whatever. We're not going to wait for a down payment assistance program to be approved and go through that like long
Some of them
process.
also require additional inspections. So when they're putting a down payment assistance program, they want to make sure the house is in good shape because there's almost no equity in it. And so they'll have
makes
an
sense.
additional inspection come out, not the public ones, but the private ones too. So I would reliably assume 3%.
Henry does that too. I'm like, I can hear it. I know you can hear
Oh, the
it.
touching?
Yeah, it's like tap, 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 tap. Okay,
So
sorry.
I would say 3% is reliable. 5% is really the minimum though I would start with, or I would suggest to start with. Because between that 2% difference, your interest rate goes up so much. So 5% is like where the interest rate starts to be pretty good.
Okay,
10% even better, 20% the best, 40% just unbelievable.
right.
So just whatever you have at that time and what you are able to collect is what you need to know.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to add? I wanted to keep this short and sweet and for everyone to be able to hear some myths, because the first step, I truly believe, is the financial aspect of it. So if you have the right mortgage broker, lender, and the right realtor in place, they'll create a plan. So if you're thinking about buying in years in the future, or you say, oh, one day I can buy, today's the day to start the conversation.
Yep.
Don't
Don't wait too long.
Yeah, I agree. And especially because interest rates are changing, markets are changing. So you could have been able to buy 2 years ago and you just thought you weren't able to, and then it could have cost you money in interest rates and prices later. So I'm a firm believer that the first step is definitely the financial makeup and the plan that you put in place, so you know that you're buying responsibly and you're not putting yourself in an uncomfortable space. I always tell people, please, I will never put someone in a home where I feel like they're going to ever foreclose on it.
Oh, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll go over that with them too.
Yeah.
Even if we're within guidelines, or sometimes we don't have guidelines, we talk to them and, okay, so we're not taking any income docs. How are you planning on paying this $5,000 a month? We'll go over that with them.
Yeah, because Kevin definitely has a conscience. he
Yeah,
overthinks
we're not-
everything.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited. Just so everyone knows where to find us, we're at Ladies of Selling LA Luxury. And then also on Instagram, they took our handle. So we are right now the Ladies of Selling LA Luxury, but everywhere else we are Ladies of Selling LA Luxury. So go find us. And we are excited to jump into the next one, which is, don't forget, it's going to be about the creative loan programs and not being the traditional buyer. And I know a lot of people in Los Angeles, that is a topic for you. So until next time, beautiful humans, namaste.